Good morning. Having my coffee. And that's my baby in the background. So let's get right to the point. Tried to record this video multiple times now and I am just terrible at this, but anyway. So I made a kid's book and I wanted to share it with you guys because I made everything here at the house from start to finish, and I thought it ended up being really cool, and I gave it as a gift to my niece and nephew. And if you wanted to try doing this yourself, then please do, and please show me because that would be amazing. I love seeing this kind of stuff. And honestly, I mean, maybe I thought it was more awesome than the people I gave it to. I don't know, but it was really cool to try. And I got to try some new things that I had not tried before, which was watercolor painting. Well, actually watercolor pencils, using watercolor pencils. And, like binding a book. I didn't do the sewing, but you'll see all of that. So we'll just start. I started with, obviously the text I wanted to, or the manuscript, I guess you'd call it. And I was figuring out, what I wanted it to be about. And obviously it was for my niece and nephew. So I thought about doing 2 books, one for each of them. I thought about doing like them growing up book. I thought about doing what will they be in the future kind of book. And then I decided to just do a brother and sister book for them because it was cute. It involved both of them, and I was like, that was just the direction that worked. My brain started taking off on those lines, and it worked out awesome. But yeah, so basically this is my only planning page, so pretty simple, honestly. I just started writing out lines that, so I started coming up with funny moments, that I could turn into a page. I wanted to include, them first meeting. So Penelope is the older one and Will is the younger one. So, and they're a little over a year apart. And I wanted to include, Will coming into the picture, and I wanted to include them, playing together and them fighting because, that happens. And I wanted to include them with their, a superhero moment because, like, she has a little superhero outfit. But yeah, you'll see all those pictures. But yeah, so I basically just, So I basically just came up with, the lines, and I came up with multiple lines for each page, and so that I could kind of mess around with different ways of saying it. I wanted it to very loosely rhyme, kind of, so I wasn't trying to stick myself to any solid rhyming rules or anything like that. And then I chose the best lines for each page, and then I ordered the pages. I did not come up with these in order of the way that I wanted them to go right away. I just wrote down anything that was in my head, vomited it onto the paper, and then chose the best ones. And I did it all in pencil because, yes, I have an iPad and everything, but I don't know, there's something so much more free-flowing about a sketchbook and pencil. Do you agree with that? I don't know. I feel like I can just sketch out my ideas so much easier and write my ideas, especially writing, on pencil and paper. And I'm looking at myself, not the camera. But yeah, and then once I did this, I started coming up with the sketches for each page, and very simple. I did not go through a ton of iterations. I just wanted to, make this book and not overthink it too much, because that is something that I definitely do sometimes with my illustrations. But that can be beneficial, especially when you're working with a client. But I just wanted to enjoy and just have fun and not worry about it too much. And this is the first one. I stuck with that one. This one is them like eating together, and I ended up switching that one out for something else. This was an idea that I had for the first page, but didn't use it, and I didn't use this one either for them playing around. And then let's see. Oh yeah, I went with this one. I was gonna do 2, but then I just, you'll see how it turned out. And then I had these 2 ideas, and I used both of those, just different pages. I also had, you know, the mom hugging them, and I used this one in another spot. But basically, I was just getting my ideas out, also not really ordering the book. These are sort of like the thumbnails, sort of. But again, like I said, I just wanted to, like, I felt like I needed to just get it done because I was trying to get it done for Christmas. Ended up not getting it done until like 5 months later, but whatever. And then that's why it's a dual Christmas birthday gift. And then watercolor pencils. So I had never used them before, but I had a kit that was a gift from a few years ago, and I wanted to use them because, I mean, I have this really nice kit that was given to me, and I should use it, and I appreciated it so much, so I should, you know, try to use it. And I really, like, in my head, I had, you know, that watercolor look for this book. I thought it would look really nice, so I better learn how to use them. So I looked up a few tutorials, nothing crazy, and I started sketching out how I wanted the characters to look. And this, I actually do really love this. I think this is adorable, but it wasn't quite, it doesn't look like Penelope, you know? This looks a lot more like Penelope to me in cartoon character version. So I went with kind of a mix between them, and you'll see that. And I was trying to also figure out the best way to do the painting itself and the coloring, and, you know, just messing with a bunch of different ways to put the colors together, and how to do the backgrounds as well. I did something similar to this, but I didn't quite go as crazy as I did here. And then also working on how I was going to put the words on the page. I have a few different pens and stuff, and I just wanted to figure out which ones looked the best on the page. But yeah, basically, literally these 3 pages are all of my planning, and that's pretty much it. Then I moved on to just making it because, like I said, I felt a time crunch. But yeah, so I have video of the pages, because like I said, I already gave it to them. But here are the sketches that I did. And you can see which ones I chose, and I cut out on the watercolor paper that I was going to use, the thicker watercolor paper. I cut out 10 by 5 or 5 by 10, so 5 by 10 pieces of paper, so that when I folded them in half, the book would be 5 by 5, or about 5 by 5. And I made it so that each one was the spread, so that I would be gluing the backs of each page to each other to make the book. And then the cover goes around the outside of those all glued together inner pages. But yeah, you can see my sketches here, and I thought they turned out really cute, and this was a scary thing, you know, these were the final pages, so I couldn't mess up, or I felt like I couldn't mess up, and I did mess up a little bit sometimes in some of the spots, but it's, you know, it's fine. Like I said, chill, very chill, fun project, not trying to beat myself up over it too much. But yeah, and then boom, I just have the color. So yeah, I didn't take pictures or anything of this process, and that was very dumb of me, but anyway, is what it is. And I just did what I said. The watercolor pencil, after I sketched everything out, I very lightly erased everything so that I could just barely see the lines. And then I took the colors that I wanted, and I would do each page kind of in color sections. So I did the clothes on each page first, and then so I could let that dry, and then I would do maybe the hair while the clothes was drying, just so that there was nothing, none of the colors that I was working on were touching at the time. and I would do it in sections like that so that I didn't have to wait for each section to dry while I worked on the next section. And then once I finished that, I did some of the shading, and then I inked everything. So I did the inking before I did the backgrounds, because I still at this point wasn't entirely sure how I was going to do the backgrounds. But yeah, so I inked over top of the character, over top of the paint. After it was, of course, dry. So I could still see the pencil lines slightly through the paint. But now that everything is, like, now that those black lines are on there, you can't really see the pencil lines. You don't really notice them almost at all. So then, once I did that, I did, let's see. Yeah, then I did the text. I still wasn't sure about that. Backgrounds were last. I sketched out the text first, and then, again, lightly erased it, and took the pen that I had chosen, and I just wrote it. Just lined the text, and it turned out pretty good. My handwriting is horrible, so I was having to be very careful. My hands shake like crazy. Yeah. So I was very happy with how this turned out. And then I did the backgrounds. So once I did that, I just decided that the background was going to just be simple, little blobs of color in the back. I didn't want them to take up too much space or time, so I just picked a color that I thought went well with each picture, or didn't clash, or didn't, make them look like they were fading back or anything like that. And then I just blobbed it on there. You don't even need backgrounds, honestly. You could just skip that part entirely. I wanted to do it because I just wanted to add a little more color to each page. It is a kid's book after all. So then, once that was done, then I realized that the pages were not quite as sturdy as I wanted them to be, so I had to add paper between each page that I was gluing together. Remember, the backs of each page I'm gluing together. And here I am cutting that paper, and this is also just a pad of watercolor paper that I have left over from years ago. And I'm just cutting out the squares that are going to go between each page so that they are a little bit sturdier, so that if the kids are ever playing with it, which please let them not be, because it's not meant for that. It's meant for the parent reading, and then maybe once they get old enough to take care of it. And I explained all of this to the parents. But then I'm gluing the pages. Oh, geez, that went fast. I edited all of this stuff together forever ago, and now I'm just doing the voiceover, and voiceovers are freaking hard. Okay, anyway. Then you have my adorable child helping me work on the cover, because I did all of the gluing of the pages together, which I figured you didn't need to see all that because that was pretty boring, honestly. But yeah, so here's my adorable daughter Lily helping me figure out cover ideas. So I wasn't sure yet what I wanted to do for the cover. I'm just drawing some shapes to figure out, what I think looks cute, what can I feasibly achieve with paint and my abilities. And what do I want the title to even be? I ended up just going with Penelope and William, just their names, and what kind of font or text did I want on there? Yeah, I spent a lot of time on these bubble letters and I didn't even use them because, I don't know, they felt so, old school? We used to do bubble letters all the time when I was a kid. And then, I don't know, they just kind of, oh my god, Lily is so freaking cute. You'll see Ada later. But yeah, so I ended up going with that one on the bottom right. So I erased it lightly, and then this is how I was doing my watercolor painting, guys. I was like sketching in first with the colors and then going over with water, and then I realized that that wasn't quite working great, so I started dipping the pencils in, or like brushing the pencil with a wet brush and then using the brush that got the color off the pencil on the page, and that seemed to be working much better. So here I am just like working on that blob of color in the background of the cover, and then I'm blowing on it to add the little like bursts of paint. And I thought about doing another version, but then I liked this one a lot, so I just stuck with it. And I'm still working on the colors because I was just wanting it to be brighter. But yeah. There's Lily still trying to help, just being so helpful. And then I was, reworking the text a bit. I wanted to make sure that I got the text right because obviously I just made this background, and I really didn't want to mess it up because it's the only one I had. And there's Ada helping me out. And I just ended up going with this kind of curly, fancy-ish text, and I went over it twice to give it just like a little bit more of a thickness to the line, and just the lines kind of, you'll see it when I show close up later, but I thought it turned out pretty cool. And Ada helped me very much with that as well. She practiced her drawing, and it's a good time. So the cover, the back of the cover you'll see has the little splatters of paint on it, and I just thought that that was cute because that was actually paint that Ada had accidentally splattered on the page. And so I used that as the back cover, and I glued the front cover onto this paper that ended up being the back cover because you saw the front cover was just a square, so I just glued that onto the paper. And when I measured the spine and I folded it so that the spine was square. And then I came up with a little quote for the back of the book, and I sketched that in like you saw there, erased it lightly, and then I wrote in the quote, and there it is. There is the inner pages and the back cover. And then next I glue the cover. Oh, yep, there it is. Like I said, I haven't watched this in a minute. Yep, so I made the cover wrap, and then I just wrapped it over the already glued together pages. And then I glued the back cover and front cover to that first and last page, the back of the first and last page. And I was very careful to get it lined up as good as I could, and let that dry. Let that sit and dry under a weight just to make sure that it was pressing down and I could get it as flat as I could. It didn't end up completely flat, and you'll see that later, but it was, good enough, right? So the reveal here is the finished book. Just showing you that it's not quite, flat, but that's okay. It wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't that off, so I was okay with it. And you can see the thickness of the book, and the edges are not super clean, but they're clean enough, good enough. And then here are the pages. Each page has, that piece between it. And here you see that the spine is not quite bending the way I want, so I ended up adding a crease to the spine so that it would open properly. But ultimately the book does open flat, and that's what I wanted. And yay! And then what I would like to do is a little reading for you guys because I'm excited about it. And I want you to see every page. So, Penelope and William. First there was only sweet Penelope, then suddenly William bust onto the scene. P became a sister and Will a brother. How lucky you are to have one another. You'll play, you'll talk, you'll have tons of fun. You'll go on adventures, snow, rain, or sun. Sometimes you might fight, but that's okay. You're still bro and sis at the end of the day. And when you get older, you'll see how special brothers and sisters can be. Penelope and William, your built-in best friends. The bond that you have will never end. Between a sister and brother is a friendship like no other. The end. So yeah, there is my book. Sorry if the kids were talking in the background of the reading, but whatever, is what it is. It's like my saying now. But yeah, I love it. I think it turned out great. I was very happy with it. The only sad thing is that there's only one copy in the world. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe, please, if you want to see more stuff like this. I am a children's book illustrator. I do other books for clients and things, but this was the first one that I'd ever done completely by myself. And I loved it. It was a ton of fun. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.